award-winning motoring podcast, your weekly discussion of motoring news. This is episode 148 on Tuesday, the 5th of December 2017. I'm slightly embarrassed by that introduction, and hello, I'm Alan.
Hello, I'm Andrew, and this week we'll be talking about an ex-employee turning on VW. PSA are looking for a discount on Opel Vauxhall. 8 declining months of new car registrations now, and Auto Advent is back on Twitter. But first...
I still can't answer any of them.
No, I've been absolutely appalling this year, but we'll talk about that in a bit. But first, let's get some Dieselgate and follow-up out the way. Unfortunately, it has reared its very ugly head again, and it is now becoming very ugly because...
It's a really, really bad mugshot, by the way, if you're speaking about ugly heads.
Quite,
anyway.
Yes. Oliver Schmidt, who regular listeners to the show will remember, is the most senior person to be charged over the Volkswagen Dieselgate issue in America. He was arrested in the airport, just about to leave back earlier on in the year, and then pleaded guilty in August, I believe. And he has now written a letter to the judge just before the pronouncement of sentence, which could be up to... Is it up to... No, it's 4 years.
It could be, up to 7 years in prison. And
between 4 and 7 years, and a $40,000 to $4 million fine.
400,000.
400,000, right, okay. So apart from me getting the facts completely wrong there, I was correct. Anyway, yes. Getting that. So he has written to try and mitigate, probably hope that he reduces his sentence down, because I didn't realize he's actually in maximum security as well, which he has put an appeal in to be moved out of, and they've said no.
But this is the ultimate white-collar crime.
Yeah, but he's in maximum security. The Americans aren't messing about here. Who can say whether an example is being set here in any shape or form? Who could say that? Possibly only the Americans. So he's written a letter to try and give some reasons and explain why it's happened. And in it, he has said that he has felt misused by VW because he said that he was coached and told a sort of script to use when meeting the regulatory bodies before the whole news broke, to go, no, there's no problems. No problems here. And so that implies, if that is true, very senior people in Germany will not be taking any trips to America because they must have been involved for that to have been approved and told to Mr. Schmidt.
Yeah, well, it says here that in this Reuters article that according to his guilty plea, Schmidt conspired with other executives to avoid disclosing intentional cheating, in inverted commas, by the automaker in a bid to seek regulatory approval for the model 2016 Volkswagen 2-litre diesels.
Yep.
There we go.
It's just now the real murkiness. I mean, it was murky anyway, but I think we get a feeling of again, we go back to if this is true. If this is true, what he has written, then it really does hammer home what many have suspected and had private feelings, that this has involved the company at a very senior level, many of which these people have possibly left. So it seems harsh on one or two, like that engineer and this chap have been thrown under the bus, and others potentially got away with it, but that's the way these things go.
There we go. Anyhow, meanwhile, much like just about everyone else, PSA are looking for a discount on a Vauxhall and an Opel. They're seeking, supposedly, allegedly, according to Reuters sources close to the sale of Vauxhall and Opel to PSA by General Motors, that they're looking for a refund of between £529 million and £700 million. That's 600 to 800 million euros, because they believe General Motors withheld information on just where the brand was where the brand was regarding fines about average CO2 fleet limits.
Yeah, their engines were not. The PSA are claiming their engines are nowhere near as clean as they thought they were on information given.
Yes, and an awful lot of the strategy for meeting that 95 grams per kilometre fleet average limit was down to the Opel, the eVolt, Ampere E. That's it. I've seen a couple of them in Norway actually, where, by the way, they've stopped selling them because they were going to cost quite so much to PSA and to Opel in Europe. To buy them from the US, it was just going to be, supposedly it was going to be completely untenable in even the medium term rather than just the long term. General Motors say they're not aware of such a claim right at the moment, and a PSA, Autocar at the time of publishing, which was on the 1st of December, was still awaiting a comment from PSA about this. So neither side is saying anything, if anything is actually happening.
Because I've heard a few people say, well, didn't they do due diligence, etc.? And what I thought about that was, it doesn't matter how much due diligence they did. You will never find out everything until you actually have the company. And there's no way they could have done it in that depth, in that time frame, from when it was first announced that they were interested to the point where they said, yes, we're going to take the company, thank you. So you have to rely on the people selling you telling you a certain amount of truth.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether you're buying a shop or you're taking over a multinational company. So I can see how someone would have said, so this could be in this position where PSA said, well, but you said that we're at this point and we're not. So I can fully understand that, because you feel that that's sort of something that no one's going to fib about.
Well, because
you're quickly going to find out when you. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see how this one pans out. Whether anything comes from that, actually, because if it does, that puts a spotlight back on GM.
Yes, absolutely.
Right, new news, but perhaps not news we want to really go into.
New news, and I'm going to try and stop you being completely the most negative person in the world, although it's quite hard not to. New car registrations for November were released today by the Society of Motor Manufacturing and Traders, and they don't make quite as bad reading as last month's, but they're still a little bit on the grim side. In fact, they're quite a lot on the grim side.
Just a little bit.
So the headline numbers, I'm trying to be nice here. The headline numbers... You
cannot sugarcoat this, Alan.
I can try. I'm at least trying some sprinkles on top, right? I don't know quite how they're
rolling the what's it in glitter and all that.
I am polishing it desperately. That is not the title of the show, by the way. Just I know the way you come up with these. So registrations fell 11.2% in November, with 163,541 vehicles, cars registered. There are increases in demand for petrol vehicles and for alternative fuel vehicles.
Go on, Alan. Tell us what the alternative fuel is. Come on.
It's up 33.1% year on year for the month,
which is really good to see.
Which is really awesome to see. Petrol up 5% year on year for the month. Diesel, harder to sugarcoat, a drop of 30.6%. That's right, almost a third fewer diesels this year, in November this year, as opposed to November 2016, which is a bit painful. Overall, year to date, we're down 5% in registrations, which is pretty much what was expected after the last little while. So yeah, not wonderful there. Again, there's a decline in buyers at 6.3%, fleet buyers at 3.9%, and business buyers at 5 point something. I can't quite see it on here. 5.4%. as well. Bestsellers?
Yes, I think we should go through the top 10 for just make it
bestsellers. So cue up the sound of the swinging. Cue up the sign of the swinging cymbal right now, because at number 10, with 2,497 units registered, we have the Ford Kuga. Number 9, Mercedes-Benz, just a smidgen ahead at 2,511. 8, the Kia Sportage. 7, Mercedes-Benz A-Class. 6, the BMW 1 Series. 5, the Nissan Qashqai with 3,562. 4th, the Ford Focus with 4,250. 3rd, the Mini with 4,335. 2nd, the Volkswagen Golf was selling 1,500 units at 5,831. And first, at the top of the leaderboard, as ever, mental arithmetic on the go, 600 units, or only 600 units ahead. The Ford Fiesta was 6,434.
And I think there demonstrates exactly how bad the situation is if the Ford Fiesta is only a few hundred ahead.
Well, there is a significant jump between second and third. That's the biggest actual gapping in there, because between 10th and third are less than 2,000 cars separates those. There's a 1,500 jump, just under 15,496. Jump between the Mini and the Golf, and then there's another couple of hundred there. So actually, that's where the big step is. It used to always be a big step between second and first. Right at the minute, the big step is between second and third.
But do you know what else is missing off that list? Is there a company that we should be expecting to see on there that we
There are no Vauxhalls on there at all, which is the first time in quite some time, I believe. But I only noticed that because I saw Richard Orcock had mentioned it in a tweet earlier on today. Year to date, A-Class Mini, C-Class Polo, Astra Corsa, Qashqai, Focus, Golf, and then 21,200 and something ahead, 200-ish ahead is the Ford Fiesta in number 1, as ever.
Yeah.
Lost a bit of its lead this year, but there we go. Not a big surprise after a couple of months of not being at the top of the top 10.
Ding.
Top 10 in there. By Mark. Right, let's cover the first one first. Just in case you see this in the newspapers and places tomorrow, this evening, MG Motors has put out a press release saying that they are the top performing British car brand in the UK. And this is their words, reporting a staggering 80% increase, 79.74 in November new car sales. Okay, that's wonderful. Well done. You sold 472 cars with 0.29% market share. That doesn't really make you the top performing car brand. And even by the lies, damn lies, and statistics that you're trying to use, MG, then I'm sorry, but a brand not even actually sold here has beaten you, and that is Chevrolet. That's right, Chevrolet is showing a 100% increase because 2 people registered Chevrolets in November 2017, as opposed to 1 person in November 2016. So even by your own stats, actually Chevrolet is more successful, is actually a higher performing car brand than you are. Please don't do that.
No, that's very silly. Very silly.
Well, that's us not being invited to anything by MG.
No. How are we going to do this week, this month? Because there's an awful lot of pink. I mean, I nearly changed the criteria to over 20%.
Let's just be positive, Andrew.
Oh, that's going to be a bit of a stretch for me.
Let me be positive then, and you can be quiet. How does that sound?
Well, come on. Okay, right. Companies that have done well. Again, this is a mixture between percentage and actual numbers, as we've just highlighted with MG.
Yes, the swords.
So if we start alphabetically at the top.
Yeah, start alphabetically. Which is exactly where I was going to start. So congratulations. You have positive numbers in the percentage change column. Abarth, Alfa Romeo, Bentley, Chevrolet. Now
Well done. Well done.
Yes. Dacia, Honda, Infiniti.
Yep.
Land Rover.
Yeah. Massive a turnaround from the month before.
Yeah, it was a bit grim, to be honest, in October. Land Rover, 18.25% year on year. Well done. November on November. Maserati, 31%. 32% actually. MG,
Mercedes. Oh, sorry. We're highlighting all the positives.
Hasn't gone through. Yes, Mercedes, MG, Mini, Seat, Suzuki, Toyota, and that's it. And other imports, which are also up by 202%, but we don't normally discuss those. There's some pretty grim ones. So Vauxhall's down 35%.
Again.
Renault's down 38%. Skoda are down 14%, Smart 42%, Jeep 52%.
Nissan's
Fiat
not clever either.
43%.
Nearly 24%.
Yeah, but relative to the ones round about it, it still looked quite good. So not great. DS 38.66. So yeah, not looking awesome there. Anyone else that I didn't mention, by the way, is negative, with the exception of McLaren, who are now appearing on the list here as a separate manufacturer, but didn't show last year. So they are the new anomaly that used to be DS for us to work around.
Yes, I nearly got confused then with what you said, but I understand what you mean. But hang on, when were they part of Citroen? Because I was being thick.
Yes, you were. So anyway, that's that. So well done, everyone with increased registrations, because it's a flipping hard market. So well done.
Yes, and links in the show notes to SMMT's page, where they declare what they feel are the reasons that we won't pour over. But go and have a read of all that. Hopefully, it starts to turn around a bit. Maybe.
Yes, it's. I think we've got enough.
Just choked to death there. Right.
I reckon we've got another 4 months before we see more stability in it, because that'll have been a whole year of everything being uncertain and horrible.
Yeah, but April next year it's going to take a nosedive again. Diesel is.
I think it will. This isn't the prediction show.
No.
But I do think that it will take another few months before before diesel plateaus where it is.
Okay. Right. Let's move on. And we're going to talk about Uber.
Yes.
Not long ago, it came out that they got hacked back in 2016, October 2016, and being the upstanding company that they are, they thought they'd deal with it in a professional manner, which was to keep it quiet and pay the people who had broken into their system because they said, we won't tell anyone if you give us all the money, we'll destroy all the data. So they gave them the money, and the data came out for sale of the people who've got accounts with Uber, of which 57 million may have been compromised. Now,
and it's not just one or two things.
No. The Senate committee said, we'd like a little chat with you, please, about why you kept quiet, because that's broken quite a few cyber data type laws and regulations and stuff like that, let alone let down 57 million people, of which I think there's something like 2.7 in this country.
Yeah, I'm upset, let down, disappointed, put it that way.
Yeah. But
if not surprised.
Yeah. just a catalogue of errors. Just a catalogue of errors in how they weren't secure enough, how they dealt with the problem when they found out. Paying the hackers is just no. But anyway, forget that.
Before we go into a complete breakdown of cybersecurity, the important message from this, Andrew, what did we agree the important message was?
The important message, Uncle Alan, is that anyone who's listening to the show, or if you know anyone that has an account with Uber, make sure you or they have changed their password. Please go and do that. Do not click on any links from any emails claiming to be Uber, even if it looks like it's Uber. Don't do that. Go in independently into the app or your account and change your password there, and do it now, please.
Is that our consumer advice for the evening now?
Yes.
That's a good deed done. We can continue being rude to people now.
Yes. Right.
Awesome.
Move on.
Okay, so next up is there's been so we've talked a few times about WLTP, which sounds like a way that your computer would connect to the internet, but isn't. It is the new worldwide harmonized light vehicle test procedure for CO2 emissions and also for fuel consumption that's being introduced. Most places, and of course that replaces the new European driving cycle, or NEDC. Now we've covered that before. It's super nerdy. What's interesting is that the new Volkswagen Up GTI, which is I think rather cool, has come out, and so for one of the first times we've actually got a new car that's coming out and that has been checked against both NEDC and WLTP. And it gives quite an interesting indication of just what the differences are going to be in numbers between the two of them. So first of all, the CO2 figures, because that's where all of this really comes in. Under WLTP, the number has risen from 110 grams per kilogram to 127 to 129 grams per kilogram. Grams per kilometer, so sorry. So from 110 grams per kilometer to 127 to 129 grams per kilometer. So that's an increase of what, 10, 15%-ish?
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Similarly, the combined fuel economy, it's dropped from 49 to the gallon to 42 miles to the gallon. So again, a drop of around about, just testing my own mental arithmetic because it's scary. Anytime I do a recording, it just goes complete to pot. So so a drop of about a fifth. So 50% reduction in efficiency and about a fifth in fuel consumption. So that's kind of where we're looking at it being as the comparison between those. If we take the Up GTI as our single datum.
I saw G8 Dynamics tweet something when somebody made a comment about figures they've got for, it was BMWs, Volvos, and something else. They just did a little screenshot, because you have to register or be approved by them to get access to their information, which I have not done, or I'm not of suitable of whatever reason.
Actually, you can, Andrew.
Can I?
Yes. Okay,
cool. We'll discuss that later. But that may involve shared logins. That would be awful.
No, it doesn't involve shared logins.
That's all right then. But anyway, they were showing similar reductions. It was varying between 10 and 17, 18% is what when I glanced through, of changes in CO2 and miles per gallon. So it looks like that's roughly your range of difference when you're looking at the NEDC to the WLTP. Dreadful acronyms.
Feel like as much of a prat when you say those out loud as you actually sound. Okay.
That's okay. Thank you. But I went on the .gov site to see about this because somebody raised the question and said, hang on, is that going to affect business in kind? Somebody asked me the question, and it will not. Benefit in kind, sorry. It will not at the moment. Now, the wording on the normally wonderfully clear .gov site, because I think perhaps this is in the tax area, so that's why it's not as clear as you would hope, mentioned how from the 1st of September 2017, manufacturers are required to undergo this test and show the information. But from the 1st of September 2018, it's mandatory.
Okay.
I'm confused.
Run that past me again, would you?
1st of September 2017, the information is to undergo this test is required. From the 1st of September 2018, it is mandatory.
Okay, I'm not sure what the differences are.
No, I can't wait.
They've got to do the test. They've got to have done the test, but they have to have done it, and they have to be publishing the information by that day.
From what I've been able to find out, in 1st of September 2018, NEDC just disappears. That's no longer relevant. That is that is not used. So I don't know whether they mean it will be the only one.
Yeah,
they just put it up in a really garbage way. However, on the fridge freezer appliance chart that you get with cars now, you're going to have both those. Or you should see both those when you get to point of sale. So be interesting to see whether people make changes. But the government did say at the moment there is no change to VED rates on the back of this. But it will happen at some point. When that is, who knows? So the way that the Chancellor acted with the test that doesn't exist changes for April next year, I fully expect to see...
You mean the complete chaos that caused, yeah?
No, it wasn't the chaos, I think. It was more this test doesn't exist, but this is what we're going to hold you, say that if you can't beat this imaginary fantasy test, then you have to pay more. I fully expect in the spring budget for him to come in and say, oh, well, now you've had a few months of the hang on, let me check it, WLTP, yeah, WLTP, then we're going to charge you on that and not NEDC because that's going out anyway. We all know that isn't fit for purpose, blah, blah, blah. So expect as drivers to be hammered by it again. Just fully.
I can't imagine that a government would do that. Oh, yes, I can. Yes. Anyway.
What, any of the British governments that are coming up and existing now that are desperately going to need cash? No, I can't think.
Yeah. Shall we move on?
Well, I think we're about halfway through, aren't we, Alan?
We are about halfway through, and normally at this point we do the guilt minute. We're not going to do the guilt minute this time. What we're going to do is well, we've already kind of said that we won and thanks to you guys, we won the next term is the Guild of Motoring Writers Motoring Research Breakthrough Award.
Yes, that's it.
Last Thursday night. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Okay. We've gone on about it lots. Thank you, everyone who liked the tweet, all that kind of stuff. Brilliant. Didn't sound like an Oscar speech. So as a result, I've actually written it all down. So there'll be a link in the notes, or just go to motoringpodcast.com and you'll see at the top blog one saying thank you to all of you. And if I haven't said thank you to you in there, or you don't feel you're in any of the categories covered, then that's because I'm a moron, not because I've intentionally excluded you. Okay, let's make sure that that's completely understood.
Yeah, they've listened long enough. They know it's because we're morons, not that because we're deliberately rude.
We're incompetent, not evil. We're not even good at being evil. So yes, thank you. Thank you to Motoring Research, and thank you to the Guild of Motoring Writers for awarding it to us. Thank you to all of you for listening, because without listeners, then we'd probably still do it anyway, but it means that people take...
We're not breaking through anything if we've got no one listening.
We're just sitting here talking to each other in a very dull way about motoring. Yes, thank you to all of you for all your interaction online, on Instagram, in person, even those of you who actually exist and aren't Russian bots. It's 3 at the minute. And yes, thank you so much, particularly to our patrons, because you're actually making that financial contribution every month. We do really appreciate it.
Helps us massively.
I would point out, if I hadn't already said we're not doing the Guilt Minute, I would point out that if you go to motoringpodcast.com, you click on the Become a Patron button on the right, in orange on the right-hand side, then it will take you through to a page that'll tell you more about it.
But good job you weren't doing that, though.
Yeah, that would be bad.
Yeah, because I'm glad you wouldn't do. I'm glad you aren't doing that, because we're saying thank you and not asking for more support.
Seriously, great long thank you.
Yep.
Thing.
We are both humbled, yes. Surprised, and in a very un-British way, quite pleased as well.
By the way, we will not mention it again.
No,
until we need to.
So this is it. It gets mentioned on Friday's review, but that's it.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Briefly, very briefly, fine. But that's it. Okay. This week is it.
Yes, that's it.
Because it would be unseemly otherwise.
Mm-hmm. So I already feel uncomfortable about how long we've spent talking about it. So
right then,
I forgot. There was something else I was going to say at the end there, and I've now forgotten what it was, but it doesn't matter.
Okay, thanking the manufacturers and PR people.
That's very much in there. Yes,
I know it's in the blog post, but
in the blog post. So thank you to all the manufacturers and PR folk who have supported us so far. In many cases, you have taken a significant leap of faith in us, particularly right at the start, and also in explaining to your bosses that really we were good people that you should support. And I know that that's not always been particularly easy, and that you stuck your necks out for us. So cheers. We try not to let any of you down.
Yep.
Does that sound okay?
I think so. I think we have.
Yeah, I just felt minorly uncomfortable.
I think we've gone on long enough now.
Yeah, I definitely feel we have. So anyway, meanwhile,
talking of automakers,
talking of automakers, many of them have gathered together to into something called Drive Sustainability. Andrew, you can tell us what that's all about.
Yeah, they have pledged for ethical mineral sourcing, mainly focused on electric cars or vehicles, we should say, because there are many different types of vehicle being developed, designed, thought about for electric and ride sharing and all these other new possible incomes and ways of doing business. So because there are in the region of 80 new models by 2025, which this plan is supposed to cover, VW is one of them. One of the companies, Toyota, is also. But they're talking with the people who mine these specialist minerals that are required, and said that they'll do it in an ethical way, to make sure that people aren't exploited, that there isn't. It's similar with
diamonds,
environmental side, but it's similar with clothing and that sort of thing. That it's properly paid people. It's not exploiting the land. You're not paying bribes. You're not causing massive, colossal environmental damage. Stuff like all that sort of stuff. There is a link to the Reuters article in the show notes. But of interest, and why Alan mentioned this on Twitter, is that in this article it goes on to mention about more than half of the world's cobalt comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo.
What's interesting about Democratic Republic of Congo, of course, is that it isn't.
No, yes, it's hilarious from that point of view. From this distance, never going there, never will, never have any intention to. Thank you very much. However, these are the sort of places that these car companies have to deal with, or the people mining have to deal with. And just to give you an idea of the Democratic
Republic of Congo.
Yeah, there is something called the Corruption Perceptions Index. Now, this was last done in 2016, so not for this year, but it's close to being up to date as we start. Now, for being the least corrupt seeming and country, there is a joint first, which is Denmark and New Zealand, and this takes scores from various elements of society like freedom of speech, and
there'll be a link to the Wikipedia.
Businesses have to bribe officials to get things done and all the rest of it. So at the top, we've got Denmark and New Zealand. Now, if we scroll down towards the bottom...
Hang on a minute. Just to put this in, some of these are crackers, but absolutely nothing to do with cars. We in the UK are 10th. Italy is somewhere down about 50th. I thought that was kind of hilarious. And Italy is 60th equal, by the way, with Cuba. Anyway.
Right, well, scrolling down towards the bottom of the 176 countries listed here, of which it is propped up by North Korea, you will be surprised to hear. 156, Democratic Republic of Congo.
I don't understand your problem. I mean, it's still ahead of Cambodia and Haiti, and Congo and Chad and the Central African Republic.
Okay, Zimbabwe is ahead of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Okay, where else can we go to?
Uganda.
Bangladesh is ahead. Where else? Russia is ahead.
Iran.
Yes. So, okay, these are the sort of countries that these companies have to do. Have to get their stuff from. So when we are saying ethically and socially aware and socially responsibly, it's a little bit of pinch of salt, because
it's going to be really hard
something
work
from the ground. So at that point, you can't be 100%. But then we are making things from other things, so something has to get damaged in the process. The idea here is to minimize that damage to humans, to the environment, to animals, to the wider world. So from that point of view, it is a good thing to see.
Yeah, and I think it is a good thing to see, and congratulations to Volkswagen, Toyota Europe, Ford, Daimler, BMW, Honda, Jaguar, Land Rover, sorry, all in one breath, Volvo Cars, Scania Trucks, and Volvo Trucks as well.
Yeah, but it gives people something to judge them against as well.
Yes,
and as we know with the internet, they will be held accountable, because we can see it with other industries. You can see it. How regularly there's something in the news about, say, the way iPhones are made, or stuff is mined for their things, or Samsungs are made, or whatever. You can see that people do follow this and do hold companies accountable. So it's going to be visible if they don't get it right.
Yeah, and it's not just about cobalt, by the way. It's also about things such as mica, rubber, and leather that are used in vehicles.
Oh yeah, this is for all. This is for all the parts. I was just picking that because
the cobalt is the one that really that everyone's saying ethical minerals for electric cars, but actually it's not just for electric cars. It's for the whole.
It's for cars. It's just cars. Electric cars are going to take up minerals in a very obvious and upfront manner, whereas an internal combustion engine does it over a longer period of time through the fuel.
And it's more hidden because it's not the manufacturers that are responsible for the drilling for oil.
Yep. Yep. Right. Come on. That's enough. That's enough of being socially responsible, Alan. How about the fact that Formula E is back?
Well, I would say that Formula E is a pretty socially responsible race series as far as these things go, given that is written into its original raison d'etre, really. So it's not that big of a jump. He says, making sure we don't get sued. So yeah, Formula E, the 2017-2018 Formula E season began at the weekend there in Hong Kong, with a two-dayer, 2 races, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. And, well, yeah, I mean, it was the first Formula E meetings of the season. And as a result, it was a little bit like bumper cars, to be perfectly honest, as whilst everyone remembered how to drive. Speaking of which, and bumper cars, then congratulations also to former Formula One driver Kamui Kobayashi, who's famed for his near accidents. But for Saturday, he got 26% of the fan boost, by the way, putting him well in the lead over everyone else. So congratulations, Kamui, in your first race. Yeah, it was. I missed the races themselves. I'm sorry, I was kind of busy catching up on sleep this weekend. But there are summaries on the YouTubes which I recommend you watch for the almost literally the blow by blow action.
Ding!
Doing so well. The results, day one results third was Nick Heidfeld for Mahindra. Second was Jean-Eric Verne for Techeetah, and first was Sam Bird for DS Virgin Racing as well. So well done.
And that's despite doing a drive-through.
Drive-through, thought he was going to come out 7th or 8th, and was amazed to discover that he was in pole, basically. Did the pole, came out again, and it's just if just couldn't really believe that he managed it, which is kind of cool. He always seems like quite a nice chap, Sam Bird. Cracking stuff. He also was him that almost that pretty much missed the garage as well.
Yeah, he overshot.
Yes, it was. Yeah, he didn't overshoot. The pit area was a bit on the dusty side, and he understeered and pretty much ended up in the middle of his team rather than actually in the garage, which was. It didn't really cause any issues other than. Sunday's race was similar again. It was the way that you'd expect Formula E race to go. But there was some issues with the results after Audi, the Audi Sport Abt team. They discovered that the barcodes on the inverters and the motors didn't correspond to those that were on the technical passport for the car. This team, by the way, has a history of silly things like this. That's me being good there.
But of all the names of
silly admin
for it to happen to.
Yeah, just silly administrative errors like this, which again it meant that Daniel Abt was disqualified. But the fact that it happened to the Audi team, and so people go, yeah, Audi, they've been cheating the motorsport already. There's not even a diesel engine. Okay, it's really
just give them they've just given them an open goal, haven't they?
But it's just unfortunate. It was an open goal for the unfunny to get straight in there.
I was very
funny.
Thank you
Daniel Abt. You were not funny. So Daniel Abt was disqualified. I can't imagine who I was doing an impersonation. Daniel Abt was disqualified, which meant that Frank Rosenquist of Mahindra took the podium. A chap whose name begins with E, but I forgot to go and look it up.
Eduardo Mortaro
from Venturi. Thank you, Andrew. I'm so glad somebody's done their research. And a third was Mitch Evans for Panasonic Jaguar Racing, which means that Jaguar Racing have won their first piece of air since September 2002 in motorsport. So
well done, Jaguar. I'm not saying there's any when they come on rear view, but you know.
Well, this is true.
Power of the podcast.
Yeah, that is absolutely it. Did
you see on Twitter, by the way? Did you see on Twitter that there was the in the airport? Mahindra passed theirs on. And Jaguar got there. Everybody was swapping over in the airport, and they all took pictures of each other, passing the prizes over to the readjusted, apart from the first team. Which I thought was great. A nice, lovely little touch that everyone's sort of going, oh, there you go, come on, let's just do it now. Not great for Audi. Yeah, I mean,
it's a real shame,
I do feel sorry for the driver. I do feel sorry for what's his name, because the poor guy, he has no control over that, and he has just got in the car and driven it, and then gets to the end and goes, "This is fantastic. I never win." Type almost, and then
this is also
he gets
it's on my birthday.
Away. Yeah.
Yeah. The other part, so I noticed a number of people tweet that this is actually really irritating about Formula E, and that really they shouldn't be doing all this post-podium celebration tweaking. They should, if this kind of thing happens, the penalty should be carried over to the next race. And not change the podium thing, because it happens time and time and time again in Formula E, and everyone goes, "Yay, that's great!" and then they change it all, and it's all a bit.
Yeah, but how much? I can see the sense in that, because it's taken the moment away. But if you look at Formula One, and I don't pay that much attention to it, how many people?
Is the 5,000?
Yeah, how many people have got? Oh well, I've got a 700 grid penalty, so that just puts me at the back, which would have been the same as 7 places. You know, it's always the problem with these rules.
That's the counter argument that I was going to point out existed. You can't win it. It's like you can't win everything. Some people will want one thing, other people want another thing. Whichever one you do, about half of them are going to grumble like heck at you. And it's Twitter, so no matter what anyone says, everyone's going to disagree. Anyway, at the end of the weekend, on the manufacturers, Mahindra were out ahead, followed by DS Virgin Racing, followed by Techeetah, who of course raced Techeetah. And as far as drivers are concerned, Sam Bird is first in the Drivers' Championship, Jean-Eric Vergne is second, and Frank Rosenqvist is third.
Excellent. So where did they go to next? Sorry, have I just put you on the spot?
Yes, and I've just closed the Formula E website.
Never mind.
As I was going.
It's not till after Christmas anyway now, is it?
It's not. There is a bit of a gap. The Hong Kong circuit is a strange one. You know, the first year they actually cancelled the Hong Kong one because they couldn't work out how to get the track to be sufficiently wide in the chicanes. So it is one of the tightest ones, and it is always a bit tricky. So it's so that's a bit fun.
Okay, right, let's move on. This one's dead quick.
Marrakesh is next, 13th of January.
Oh, okay, right. Okay. Seems a decent place to go.
I managed to talk long enough that I could actually find the answer.
See, the consultant in you sometimes just waiting to be released again. Right, dead quick. This Friday, Grand Tour Series 2, not Season 2. Series, I don't care if they are on an American thing. It's Series 2 is back, looking, and in case you've missed the, I have to say, rather excellent promos for it, the trailers that have been released on Twitter, give me a lot of hope that this will be a more consistently good series, and I for one am looking forward to it coming back and can't wait to see them.
Top Gear as well, but yes, I
agree. I am too. But this is the first one coming up on our telly, so this is... Right. Yeah, there's going to be a link in the show notes to an article on Motoring Research by Gavin, very long surname, friend of the show, who has given us a little bit of a preview of what is happening in this series. So do go and have a little look. Right, come on, list of the week.
Absolutely. So list of the week this week is it is award season.
Yes, it is that time of year.
Yes,
give them out to any old person now.
Yeah, any idiot can win the awards these days. So who do we have this time? From of the many that have been come up recently, we've got the Next Green Car Awards. Thank you, Andrew, for this. So we have. let's hit it and go for it. So next Green Car Awards, a number of different selections. I am slightly upset by these.
Go on then. Why are you upset?
Well, there's just nothing new in there. It just feels like it's the same old stuff being recycled.
Well, the Ignis is new.
Which I suppose is. Yes, but it was only commended. It didn't win.
Was the Smart out last year?
Yes.
Was it?
Yes. I know someone who just bought one of those.
I mean, it's not a looker. I was going to say something else.
Well, the Smart. It looks a bit like
Smart design's awful.
It looks like a half-eaten jelly baby, to be honest. But yeah. So So I shall run through these with remarkable haste. So the City Car winner is the Smart. The Super Mini winner. Super Mini winner is the BMW i3, which don't really count as a Super Mini. But
how did the right? I'm a bit confused here because how did the Zoe not win that?
I don't know. Don't know. Anyway, so the
or is the new Leaf out yet? The new Leaf's out.
No, it won small cat family car. It won the next category.
Okay. Okay.
Now you're starting to see the problem I have with these ones.
The e-Golf, the e-Golf was commended, and I've seen a lot of people saying how good the e-Golf is. Actually,
it is getting rave reviews.
That's interesting.
Most popular single model of car in Norway.
Oh, crikey! It's got good range on it.
Yeah, there is not everyone is saying if you want the essential the gateway drug to EVs right at the minute is considered not so much to be the slightly odd looking EVs, and the new Leaf is less odd looking than the outgoing Leaf, but it's if you want something that is really dull but also EV, then you go for the Golf.
Okay.
Dull to look at. Pardon me. You go for the Golf. Honestly, or you can go for the A3 e-tron, which I think, which is the posher version, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody's saying how nice it is to drive, how fast it is, how well it handles, all these kind of things. I imagine it lost out in this particular comparison because its next green rating is only 22, as opposed to the Leaf, which is a next green car rating of 26.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So large family car.
Large family car is the Toyota Prius plug-in, which is definitely the most attractive of the Prius available to us these days. I really like the plug-in, and it's available in that nice blue as well. Commended was the Ioniq plug-in, plug-in hybrid. We know about the.
I'm confused about that. Because there's an electric version, which
yes, but it is. I don't know. Maybe it's to do with cost
and large family car. Anyway,
no, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So in the list of the week that I've picked, I am confused both by some of the wins and what is in what category.
I read the list of the week, to be perfectly honest. Crossover and SUV is a Kia Niro plug-in hybrid, with the commended being the Mini Countryman Cooper SE All-4. So big, so you can fit the badge across the back. Executive
26-mile range on electric.
Yeah. So moving on, Executive 530e, BMW 530e, obviously commended is the Volvo S90 T8 twin engine, which is some ridiculous output. They're saying something like 400 brake or something. Anyway, it goes like stink of the S90 T8. I think that sounds like a fantastic car. And of course, the BMW 5 Series is just an excellent car anyway. It goes without saying. So the estate winner is the Kia Optima Sportswagen Verve.
Interesting.
T8 twin engine as commended there. So it's commended as both saloon and an estate. The V90 T8. So I think that's pretty high praise indeed.
Heard good things about the Optima's Sportwagen Verve.
next generation winner is the Jaguar I-Pace.
Okay.
Next generation.
What we've just looked at it.
That is what the next generation one is. Similarly commended is the Hyundai Kona. This is one of these times when I just keep talking so that you can't get a word in edgeways. And the innovation winner is the London Electric Vehicle Company, TX, the new London taxi with its range extender. It's not a Volvo because it's built in China engine, and it is the Volvo power plant. Not the Swedish flavour. Yeah, don't tell anyone. Which I think
taking
is
that sticker off.
Awesome thing.
Yes. Okay. There's some interesting stuff on there.
Taxi rank. Yeah.
Interesting stuff on that.
Exactly. I was going to say I dragged you through the taxi rank at Euston.
Yeah, that was pretty minging.
Oh my!
Took years off me, that did. Right, and finally now, to round out this waffling show.
Yes, quite.
Right. Last year, we mentioned this. It's from at Mr. J. Deem, link in the show note. But he produces a quiz or a spot the difference or a what's the connection or something like that for every day leading up to Christmas. And he's called the hashtag Auto Advent. And it is fantastic.
You have to be near Khan to win this.
Yes. I can't get any. No hope of getting any. I haven't even got close on any up to now. But there is a link to both the hashtag and to Mr. J. Deem's Twitter account. So you will find it that way. And I do encourage you to play along at home because it is great fun. I'm learning lots, actually.
Oh, yeah. I've barely been on Twitter in the mornings. Or if I have, it's been before it comes out. So. On there. Any parish notes? Don't forget, that pretty much rounds up for the week. Don't forget, Rearview is out again on Friday.
Yep.
Good. Yes, there is a nod of agreement there.
There's many recordings happening. Many recordings.
There are. He's a busy little recording buddy for new episodes of Rearview. So, yes, that'll be out on Friday. So, don't forget to subscribe on your podcatchers for that. And make sure that last week's came through as well.
Yes, thank you to everybody who's passed on kind comments. That was lovely to hear that you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed actually chatting to Andy Masson.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. So don't forget that between now and next week's show, you can give us any feedback, share your thoughts for the show at Motoring Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, on Facebook, and on the contact page of motoringpodcast.com, the hub of all our activities. Plays, Patreon, that's all I'm going to say, motoringpodcast.com/support for all the other ways to support us. And don't forget that you can leave a review and rating on iTunes. Or however your podcast app lets you do such a thing. It really does matter. Andrew, best way to get in touch with you, sir?
Best way to get in touch with me would be via Twitter. If you search for Cracked Windscreen, you will find me there. And Alan, if anybody wants to tell you that you've gone on far too much about how wonderful we are, what's the best way for them to do that?
It is on Twitter, where I'm at AJP Bradley, and I've remembered what it was that I was going to say earlier on. And that was to actually say thanks to you for putting up with me for the last 146 episodes.
Well, that's incredibly kind.
Because I missed you out completely from the list. I realised afterwards. I'll say the person I don't actually
thank everybody apart from the person I'm talking to.
Thank everybody apart from you. So yes, that was the thing that I was going to say at the end earlier on, which thank you.
Well, it's okay. It didn't cross my mind to thank you either, so we're fine.
Well, that's because you're a sod and I'm a sod. So anyway, finishing this off, we'll be back next week. But until then, I've been Alan Bradley.
I've been Andrew Clues.
And safe motoring.